And Wolf Blitzer joining us here on the Brody File.
I'm honored for your big show. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it. And this is like our Situation Room, by the way. You're in our Situation Room.
Thank you. So. It's good to be in your Situation Room because I know you join me in my Situation Room every day.
I do.
Thank you.
Let me ask you. Let's talk a little bit about media bias. My goodness, the conservatives love to beat up the media day and night. What is your sense? You've been around a while in media circles. Is that an unfair rap, or what is your sense on that?
Well, I think there's so much media now. There's so much traditional media, old media, new media. There's left-wing media, right-wing media, centrist media. You know, there are so many choices out there. People can get the news from so many different places, and you know, you have to decide where you want your news to come from. Do you feel like having it from what you consider to be a really responsible, objective source, or do you want to get it from a little bit more of a partisan source? And I think it's great that individuals have that choice and they can get whatever they want. And you can go online, you can go on television, on radio, newspapers, whatever you want. There are a million choices, a lot more choices today than when I was just starting off in this business a long time ago.
It's interesting because Fox News obviously kind of positioning himself toward the right, MSNBC leaning forward towards the left, yet CNN is obviously, you guys have made a conscious decision to kind of stay right there in the middle.
We've tried to do, that traditional, at least I have, newscast. And, when I have a conservative Republican on, I ask tough questions. When I have a liberal Democrat on, I ask tough questions. Invariably, the partisans out there, when I'm tough, I don't think I was that tough, but I asked Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, some tough questions not that long ago. I got, barraged from the left, why you a right-wing, pro-Romney, kind of journalist. And then when I do a tough interview with someone from the right, whether, let's say Donald Trump or somebody like that, then, you're just a liberal hack. And so you get that kind of criticism. It comes with the territory. Nowadays, it's much more, robust and much more immediate because of Twitter and the social media, and so you get hammered all the time, but you just have to, take it and move on.
What did you think when Newt Gingrich had that little moment with you during one of those presidential debates where he liked to call you and CNN out about going after a certain line of questioning? Right. Boy, that seemed to be, he was playing to his conservative base there. Clearly.
Right, and I was ready for that, and I had rehearsed, in fact, going into that debate. Well, what if he decides to turn that around? Because he didn't just do it with CNN. He did it with CNBC, he did it with ABC, he did it with Fox too. He just took that as an opportunity to try to score some points and turn it against the news media, if you will. And so I made sure that every question I asked, I had the background, I was fully versed on it, and I had, in case he was going to say something, how could you ask me that question at a presidential debate? I was ready for that follow-up, and I was ready for that follow-up because I suspected he was going to do that. Even though I've known him for a long time and I have a good relationship with him, I suspected he might try to do that, and so we were ready for it. And he was waiting for Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney to come to his aid and say, well, we're not going to get into that at a presidential debate, and neither one of them did. He looked for help, and then Romney pounced on him and really hit him hard, and that was the end of it.
Well, what is your sense within mainstream media circles about the support that Israel receives from evangelical Christians? In evangelical Christian world, it's a no-brainer. They're very much pro-Israel, but I think it baffles a little folks in the media to a certain degree.
A lot of journalists out there may not be all that aware of the religious importance to evangelical Christians of the state of Israel. And if you've been to Israel, and I've been there many times, and you see the Christian pilgrims, the tourists who come to the Holy Land, they have a deep, deep attachment, and they love Israel. And so I'm not surprised by it, but other journalists are surprised because they think the support for Israel in the United States, the political support, comes primarily from the American Jewish community, and it does come a lot from the American Jewish community, but from the Christian community, there is a powerful amount of support for Israel as well, maybe even more powerful from the American Jewish community, and I think that's a significant fact that I appreciate and I understand as someone who's covered U.S.-Israeli relations for a long time, that maybe some other journalists, they say, well, why are all these Christians, so active politically? Why is, for example, Paul Ryan, the congressman from Wisconsin, very, very strong on Israel. And, one of the factors is that there's a religious part of this, which which I've seen in action, so I understand it.
Interesting. What do you make of the media treatment of Israel, this Israel-Palestinian conflict? It's I know there are many evangelicals and conservatives that are frustrated at the way the media portrays the Palestinians in that conflict.
Well, it depends on, when you say the media, there's, all the media is a big operation.
Mainstream media.
I mean,
the big three.
My own sense is that Israel gets a fair share. Okay. I don't think that there's an anti-Israel bias. I'm sure there's, an element out there, but I think that if you watch the Israeli media and you read the Israeli newspapers, whether the daily newspapers, the Jerusalem Post or Haaretz or Yediot Ahronot or any of these other newspapers, and you watch the various Israel television, there's a fierce debate in Israel that's going on about these sensitive subjects as well. And so I don't see that, anti-Israel bias that some people see. I see that there's criticism from time to time. Sometimes it's justified, just as all of us, we all make mistakes. But I don't buy into there's a built-in anti-Israel media bias.
I'm going to ask this question about how you got your name, Wolf, and it is Wolf. I mean, that's on the birth certificate.
That's correct. It's not Wolfgang. I didn't make it up for the first Gulf War or anything like that.
Right, I've heard those stories.
It's my real name. It was my maternal grandfather's, my mother's father. His name was Wolf, and my parents decided to name me Wolf. So I grew up in Buffalo, New York, with the name Wolf Blitzer, and I still get a lot of letters and emails from young couples who are about to have a son, they tell me, and they say, we're thinking of naming him Wolf, what do you think? And this goes back to the first Gulf War when I became, quote, famous. And I've always told them, look, it's hard enough nowadays growing up with a name like Billy or Bobby, or, you sure you want to put that burden on a young boy and walk around with the name Wolf? And some of them listen to me, and others, they go ahead and name him Wolf anyhow, but that's their decision.
Still fluent in Hebrew? You keep up the Hebrew?
For a while I was much better, but I haven't really practiced it in a long time. So, but I could still get, I was in Israel a couple weeks ago, went to interview Mitt Romney when he was in Jerusalem, and I sat there at the King David Hotel interviewing him, and the next day I interviewed Shimon Peres, the president of Israel, Ehud Barak, the prime minister, the defense minister of Israel. And you get my Hebrew was okay. It wasn't fabulous, but it was pretty good. And it's sort of weak now. But after a few days, you listen to it, you get it, it comes back.
What is going on with you and the Soul Train Awards and the whole the Dougie Fred? What's going on? How'd you get roped into that? You wanted to do that?
I grew up watching Soul Train in Buffalo. I loved Soul Train with Don Cornelius. My whole life I was watching it as a young kid, and then a few years ago. A good friend of mine, Paxton Baker, who produces the Soul Train Awards, the BET Soul Train Awards, I was having dinner with him, and he said, I got to leave the next day for Atlanta to go put together the Soul Train Awards. And I said to him, well, I love the Soul Train. And he said, you love the Soul Train? And to make a long story short, the next year he invited me to come down and make a presentation at the Soul Train Awards. And so I've been going ever since, and it's been a lot of fun.
Very interesting. Let me ask you before you get out of here. You ask everybody else their opinions about what's going on in this, or their analysis of what's going on in this presidential race. What is your synopsis, your 30-second, if you will, synopsis of Romney, Obama going forward to 2012?
It's going to be really close. It's going to be, the next couple of months, it's going to be very intense. I don't think it's a lock for either one of them right now. They've got a few states, and all of us know those battleground states, where this is going to play out. There are a few wild cards out there in terms of external events. Who knows what could happen internationally and what that impact could be. And all these, you're talking about Israel before. If there's a strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities, what's going to happen in terms of the Straits of Hormuz, retaliation, and all that. We don't know what's going to happen over the next few months in the European economy. If there could be a setback on that front, and the spillover in the U.S. economy could be dramatic. I think in the end, though, it'll be this election will be about the economy and jobs, and we'll see whether the American people want President Obama to get another 4 years or give Mitt Romney a chance. And I say I think it's going to be really close. There may be 45% who are firmly committed to Obama, 45% firmly committed to Romney, but there may be 8 or 10% that are either undecided or switchable, if you will. Maybe it's down to 5%, but that could make the difference in an Ohio or a Florida or Colorado or some of these states. So I say it's going to be close. And as a political news junkie, I love this kind of stuff.
I bet you do. Wolf Blitzer in the Brody Files Situation Room.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Wolf.
Good luck with the new show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.